I'm Shannon Burke, interpretive naturalist with Marin County Parks, and today we're going to talk about owl pellets. So a pellet is a mass of undigested food that gets regurgitated after a bird eats things like animals that might have fur or feathers or even scales, like a reptile, something like that. And so a lot of different birds create pellets, but owl pellets are kind of easy to find because owls typically roost in trees during the day, and they a lot of times use the same tree over and over and over. So sometimes you can find a spot where there are a lot of owl pellets that are scattered down on the ground. Owls, like all birds, have two chambers in their stomach. The first chamber has digestive juices and different chemicals and mucus and things like that to liquefy the nutrients and help break down their prey. And then it passes into the second chamber, which is called the gizzard. And that part of the stomach doesn't have any digestive glands, it's all mechanical. So it basically is really muscular, and it grinds down the food and it ends up compacting it. So it just takes all of the fur and bones and all of the things that the owl can't digest and packs it into a pellet. And then that pellet goes back up into the first chamber of the stomach, and it's in there for hours as the digestive juices try to get out all of the nutrients that are left in that prey. And the digestive part passes into the intestine of the owl. So once all of that has been processed and broken down, which can take up to about 10 hours or so, then the owl actually regurgitates the pellet, and it comes up in this little compact form, and all of the bones and feathers and fur that haven't been digested end up dropping down onto the ground. So then you can find them underneath a tree. So what we're going to do is we're going to dissect some of them, and we're going to look inside and figure out what the owls have been eating. And one thing to keep in mind is that this is a great way for ornithologists to look at what birds eat and even seasonally see if their prey changes over the year, throughout the course of the year. And another thing to keep in mind, though, is that not everything that they eat shows up in a pellet. So for instance, screech owls might eat earthworms, but that's going to be completely digested, so you won't see any evidence of that in the pellet. And some larger owls sometimes will just strip the meat off of bones, and they won't end up eating the feathers or the fur, things like that, and so that's not going to be evident. So it doesn't show the whole diet, but it gives you a good clue as to what they're eating. Okay, so we have teased apart a few different pellets here, and you can see that there are a lot of different types of bones. So these, with the little circle here, those are pelvis bones, and things like this are leg bones, and then we've got a whole bunch of jaw bones. So these are the lower jaws, and then we've got some skulls. And I'm going to kind of show you what it's like. So as you tease apart these things, whoop, here's another little, that looks like a pelvis bone, but sometimes you find skulls in here. So as I said, owls swallow their prey whole, head and all, and so the skull isn't digestible, and the teeth aren't either. So you can see here that this is a rodent. If you think of a rat, it's got these nice front teeth, right? And look at all of these. So look at this big one. This looks like a big gopher skull, and these are the eye orbits. And the lower jaw down here is split in two different pieces. So if you tease those apart, you get these nice big jaws. And the really cool thing about rodents is that, unlike us, their teeth continue to grow because they gnaw on things all the time, and so their teeth would just wear down. And so the outer part is a little bit tougher than the inside, and so the inside wears down more quickly, so they always have this nice chisel on the tip of their teeth. And because they just keep growing, you can actually pull them out of the skull, and look at how long that is. So this is the whole tooth that's tucked up here inside of the skull, and you can even pull it all the way out. So we have a couple teeth here. These are the front teeth, and then here are the little teeth that are up in the upper jaw. So here you can see that the owls have taken advantage of the meadow that's just on the other side of this tree, and they go out and they hunt and they find all sorts of rodents and get a pretty good idea of what they've been eating. There are a couple things to keep in mind. One is that if you find owl pellets out in nature like this, keep in mind that they can have viruses or bacteria, and that's why I'm wearing gloves. If you decide to take an owl pellet apart without gloves, make sure you wash your hands afterwards. And if you're interested, there are resources online where you can buy sterilized owl pellets, and so you can order them online, and those are sterilized at a high heat and you can take them apart in your own house. Another thing to keep in mind is that if you find owl pellets and you take them apart, leave them where you found them, because the larvae of things like moths and beetles will take advantage of this and eat the fur, and even fungi can grow in owl pellets. Another thing to keep in mind is that bones have a lot of calcium in them, and so it can also be a source of calcium for things like little rodents and stuff that might chew on the bones. So have fun with them, but leave them where you found them.